Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the next installment of our E-Xpo, which is our bi-monthly event that we have. Welcome. Today, we're going to actually, similar to the last time, showcase two of our ongoing panelists, their companies, Restoration Management and my company, Reliant Construction Management. But before we get to discussing about those, our respective companies, go around let everybody introduce themselves, starting off with Daniel.
Hi, everyone. My name is Daniel Lima. I'm the owner of Endure Painting. We're a painting company that services the entire Bay Area. We specialize in homeowner associations, and we also do residential, exterior, interior, commercial painting as well. And that's pretty much us. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Daniel. We'll get to Brian when he presents his company, but he just waved hi. Next, there's Daisy Ortiz with IQV Construction and Roofing.
Hi, everyone. My name is Daisy Ortiz. I'm the marketing manager at IQV Construction and Roofing. We are your Bay Area's construction and roofing specialists. We focus on repairs, new construction, and roofing. And sorry, I know there's a lot of background noise. I'm not sure what's going on. That's what kind of got me confused.
Thanks, Daisy. All right, so we also usually have Annetta Fontessa, who's with Bencal Property Management. She's unable to be with us today, but you'll see her at the next event in 2 weeks. But I'll start off. My name is Mark Owens. I am the president of Reliant Construction Management. I also have with me today Victor Juan Chang, who's a senior construction manager with Reliant Construction Management. He'll introduce himself in a little bit, talk a little bit about himself, and how he and his vast experience within the industry. But a little bit about Reliant. We have been around since 2008. We actually got started as part of Cityscape Property Management in 2006 when Cityscape Property Management to decide to expand their services for their existing clients, and their HOA clients, and also their apartment building clients, owners of apartment buildings, and was basically to broaden the services so they could better support the way they actually were able to manage their properties, because a lot of these projects that sort of were required by HOAs or apartment buildings were really having a hard time for the property managers to not only manage their properties, but also then add on whether these, capital improvement project or catastrophic loss, water loss project, or, sort of an annual, painting project, or a variety of different things. And it just was really cumbersome for them to do that. Plus, they didn't necessarily have the skill set to actually do that. So that's why they decided to expand that service. And they actually hired me to kind of do that. And then in 2008, we decided to spin it out to make its own company. And we became Reliant Construction Management. So our mission is to preserve, protect, and enhance the assets of our clients through quality construction and project management. And we actually have a variety of different services that we provide, and then we're going to go through them, Victor and I. But I'm going to turn it over to Victor so he can talk about a little bit about himself, but then also some of our larger type projects that he spearheads, along with myself. Go ahead, Victor.
Thank you, Mark. Thanks for having me here today. Appreciate it. A bit about myself. I've been in the construction industry for about 32 years or so. The 30 years, about 20 in the HOA industry, managing construction defect repairs. Basically, dry rot repairs, window replacement, cladding replacement, et cetera, et cetera. With Reliant, I've been with the company about a year and a half. And as Mark said, we're pretty much a construction management company. And because of my background, one of my roles is to work on construction defect repairs projects. And that's pretty much broken down to different phases. I'll say that the first phase would be to assist the HOA in coming up or creating a scope of repairs. A lot of time we work with consultants throughout the Bay Area, meaning architects, engineers, repairs, depending on the type of project repairs that is required. Sometimes we don't. We can develop the scope of repairs ourselves. A lot of times there are maintenance repairs. When we get consultants involved, a lot of times they have plans and specifications. That pretty much is phase one, and then phase two we will go into once we have the scope developed, we have bid walkthroughs with different vendors. Normally about 3 or 4 vendors to get different bids. And once we collect those bids, we create a spreadsheet, prepare a spreadsheet for a bid comparison, and we qualify the bids, and we add contingency to the bid if required. And once that's completed, we present it to the HOA, to the homeowner association, for the review. And we discuss it, go over with them, and finally they select a contractor. A lot of times also they do need assistance with finance, meaning going through the assessment. So we can do that as well. And once they have the finance in place and they have a contractor, we manage the overall project, and we pretty much manage project from start to end. And we start with pre-construction meetings throughout the project, and it could be weekly meetings, bi-weekly meetings. We document everything in meeting minutes. Depending on the type of project, we have also all the architects and consultants and engineers involved in the meetings, the HOA if they want. We pretty much monitor the budget, the schedule. We have documents for requests for information, change orders that we review throughout the project. So that's the main role of Reliant Construction Management. We're pretty much the liaison between the HOA owners and the vendors. So we're pretty much the main channel of communication on what's going on throughout the project. Okay. You guys have any questions so far?
Hey, Victor, talk a little bit about, really quickly, 1 second, folks. Talk a little bit about how you communicate with, property managers and boards and
Sure.
individual residents and things.
Well, once the project gets going, we typically put up project startup notices. Okay. Once the contract is selected, we give them perhaps 2-3 weeks notification that the project is about to start. And there's a lot of times where we have to get inside the units, and we always contact the unit owners, and we at times get the property manager involved for that. So we can get access, for instance, to replace windows, document existing conditions, et cetera, et cetera. So that we pretty much, the whole team is the HOA, unit owners, property managers, Reliant, and the vendors, basically. So that answer your question, Mark?
That's great. Yeah, no, that's good. The other thing I just want to add is that, our goal is to, and Victor kind of, what he was saying is to really help manage everything, one-stop shop everything, so that it makes it seamless as possible. So the property manager it feels at ease and not everything to worry about. Same with the boards, and that they can just really rely on the fact and trust the fact that Reliant is handling it and will manage it and inform them as needed. So they don't have to stress on these things. That we're trying to take that away from them by doing all these different things that we're doing. But if you have any questions for Victor, I have some more things I want to talk about because we have other services too. But does anybody have any questions about like the defect investigation, reconstruction management?
Couple of other defects. Go ahead, Daniel. I'm sorry.
No, I don't have a question, but I just loved what you said. There was a phrase that you said, Mark, at the beginning, and I don't know if you can repeat it, but it was something about enhance, protect, and there was one more. I just really like that because
I think that was Mark.
We know when you kind of give like a 30-second commercial, it just really says everything. everything in 3 words. I think those words were really, really key.
Okay, yeah. So I basically said our mission, if you want to call it that, would be is to preserve, protect, and enhance the assets of our clients through quality construction management.
I like it. I like it a lot. It sounds really fancy, and I think it really narrows down like what the company, your company, does.
Thanks.
Thank you,
So-
Daniel.
Thanks, Daniel. So, Victor touched on, we also do reconstruction management, in addition to defect investigation and reconstruction management. Similar things, except these are just sort of ongoing stuff that might pop up that might be periodic because property's reserve study is saying that they have to get a new roof or it's time for a new HVAC system. Those things that we manage, similar to what Victor said, soup to nuts, getting proper vendors involved, scope development. We also, which Victor has been integral on, and myself as well, and we've been doing a lot of these recently because of code requirements. There's a lot of seismic upgrades, soft story work, and he and I both have been really on that for the last several years with various properties. Similar thing where we're getting the engineers involved, interfacing with the city, and then just all that good stuff to enhance the structural integrity of the properties in our clients' buildings. We also do fire life safety work, which could include sometimes properties and property managers don't want to get, because of the intensity of the management pieces of it, the 5-year sprinkler and fire life safety inspection, which is mandatory. So we sometimes get engaged to do that. Or we do also emergency action plans, develop those, and that includes doing fire drills. Myself are certified at the high-rise fire life safety in the Bay Area, and Victor is in the process of getting his certification on that now, so that adds to our ability to do that for folks, and then interfacing with the fire departments to get those approved and signed off on. Victor mentioned about funding special assessment and reserve study, and I'll add reserve study to that. So oftentimes we are engaged by HOAs and property managers to help with either short-term or long-term planning, which then ultimately of projects and reserve projects, which sometimes also include funding. And though we're not actually sourcing out the funding for the HOA, what we will do is create the budget by looking at scopes, looking at costs, doing costing and some estimating, working with our vendors that we engage on this, to come up with large budgets and phases to help the clients actually better understand what they need to do and how long they need to do it, or how quickly they need to do it, and how they can access and assess and work with the monies that they do have, and then also monies that they will need to get in order to do these projects. Additionally, we sometimes are engaged with SB 800 and Title VII maintenance and inspections, especially on larger projects or projects that maybe, or properties that, that either don't have on-site management, building engineering, or or such, and they're less than 10 years old. We will oftentimes get engaged to do monthly assessments, looking at the components, documenting the issues. This is actually required under SB 800, because they're on a time clock. So in case if anything arises that are an issue, it gets properly reported either to the developer, or if the developer, he or she, passes on that, then the HOA has recourse in either ways to actually get relief of those issues that are coming up, which sometimes eventually could go into defect investigation with some legal counsel. And then lastly, and I kind of was saving this for last because it ties into what Brian does, his company, is we do emergency management. And oftentimes that includes bringing vendors like restoration management into working with us. And so these can be anything like catastrophic losses such as fire or large floods, which floods doesn't necessarily mean by a natural flood. It could be like a sprinkler inadvertently going off, or some sort of plumbing supply line. In addition to that, we also work with individual owners that are affected. Maybe somebody's bathtub overflowed, or a supply line in their unit or something like that, and whether it's 1 or 2 units or multiple units, oftentimes our clients, we work with Cityscape Property Management, I talked about that at the beginning, but we have other property management firms that we do work with on all these projects, including this, where we are engaged to come in, and basically we're the intermediary, like Victor said, on all these, but with these in particular, we're coming in to not only work with somebody like restoration management to get started, make sure everything's going forward in the remediation/drying piece, or any kind of microbial growth remediation is also taken care of. But then also making sure they're getting put back together, these units are, and common area as well. So that's, bringing in somebody like Daniel or Daisy's company to come in and do these interior or maybe perhaps even exterior repairs if those are affected as well, to address these and making sure everybody gets whole. In addition to that, we're also engaging with the HOA's master policy insurance claims, as well as each individual owner's HO6 claims. So we're supporting that effort, and it can get complicated in the sense because there are a lot of players, but what we do, similar to what I said at the beginning, is we really want to be the hub, and we are the hub, and really trying to give people a feeling of a peace of mind and sort of relief. So it's already stressful for them to go through all this, but what we're doing is we're helping them so they're not like left alone or high and dry or wet and dry, wet and high and wet because they're dealing with water and whatever, just to kind of help them out because their units can be really turned upside down and it's really stressful. So we're trying to get this all seamlessly done, drying quickly as possible, get them back together, wrapped up, and we're out of there. And plus give them all the information they need to submit to their HO6 carriers, and as well as the HOA for their insurance claims. So that's pretty much a good overview of what we do and the services we provide. And I have, in addition to Victor, we have 4 other construction managers on the team, including myself. So does anybody have any questions or?
No, I do want to say, Mark, it is great working with a company like yours because it does help so much with the coordination of everything and making sure that the jobs go smoothly across the board and that the residents get back into their homes quickly and safely as possible. So for us, from RMC, it's a pleasure working with you guys. We love working with Reliant.
And
Thanks.
And I agree with Brian. For managers, it just makes their life so much easier. To hire a construction management company that would just kind of really take on everything else from the moment that from the bidding process all the way to completion. I had the opportunity to work with construction management companies. And it's just amazing how they put everything in process, and it just makes all the vendors to really work in like a little train, in perfection. So it's great. Yeah, thank you, Mark.
You're welcome. Thanks. We love working with you, folks like you, Daniel, and Daisy, and Brian as well. And then the one thing I wanted to also add is about the emergency management piece, which I forgot to mention is. If there are insurance claims, our costs are also usually covered by the claim. So whether they'll have partial coverage with HO6 or partial with the HOA's master policy or combo or one or the other. So that's the other benefit too as well. So that we're providing the service, they're offset with that claim.
Yeah.
So there's coverage there. So
can't get any better than that.
No, especially on that one. So
yeah.
One of the things that hey Mark.
What's that?
I was going to say one of the things that a lot of people don't realize, whether it's a water loss project or a reconstruction project, is the amount of communication that takes place between vendors and owners. And, it can go down, south pretty easy if you don't have the proper tools in place for communication. I've seen it, happen. And that's why HOA don't want to get involved a lot of times.
Right? Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, totally. Well, excellent. Thank you, Victor. Thank you, everybody. I'm going to turn this over now to Brian Garcia with Restoration Management. He'll introduce himself as well as talk about RMC and what they do and what they can provide for folks. Brian.
Hi, everybody. Brian Garcia, Restoration Management Company. You're going to see me kind of looking over to the right because I have two screens going on here. So this is the screen where I can see everybody. This is the screen where I can see my notes. So it's going to be, but I'm going to do a little bit different here. I'm going to actually do a little bit more formal presentation just because I have one handy. So it makes things a little bit easier. So let me see if I can make this work for everybody. Can everybody see that? Yes. Great. So Restoration Management Company, we are a full service restoration company, disaster recovery company. We've been in service since 1985, actually. Here's all my contact information. You can ask me about that later, though. We can get to that. What I do want to talk about is a little bit about RMC. You know, we are a privately owned company. We have a single owner, our founder and current president and CEO, John Takata, actually started off as a carpet cleaner. And we kept getting called in to do jobs after fires and floods. And John decided that that was a good direction to move into. So we started doing restoration, primarily for fires and floods originally, and we expanded out from there. We have 14 branches, 10 in California. And then also a branch in Colorado, one in Washington, Arizona, and Texas, as well as a national catastrophe team. So during the major hurricanes, we were able to get out to the hurricanes and help do restoration services during that. Same with the fires in California. We helped with a lot of the services during that. And we're available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, of course, because things always seem to happen at the worst times. Matter of fact, before I get too far, I actually got a call late last night. Speaking of floods, apartment or condo complex in San Francisco, and one of the upstairs units, their washing machine flooded, and nobody bothered to tell the downstairs units that this had happened. And when the downstairs unit got home, when the tenants got home, their entire apartment was completely flooded. They sent me pictures of this flood. The carpet, brand new wood flooring, completely about an inch of water sitting on top of it. All their electronics totally saturated, furniture saturated, ceiling, walls, everything. I was able to get a team out there within about 45 minutes to start on the remediation. So again, we're available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. But what do we take care of? What do we help with? Water damage, fire and smoke damage, environmental services, which means asbestos abatement, lead abatement, mold remediation, containments, as well as biohazard issues. So trauma scene cleanups, graffiti removal, pressure washing. It's a little surprising at how often we get called in to do cleanups for hoarders, especially cat and dog hoarders, which is a significant amount of work, and usually requires a pretty much a complete gut out of the property, as well as decontamination and odor removal, which we're fully capable of doing. I'm kind of breeze through these things. So water damage, again, we take care of the remediation. Can you guys hear my dogs? I hope. I'm sorry, my dogs they're feeling very lonely, so they're crying upstairs.
We can barely. No worries.
So water damage. So if your property has a flood, we could get inside there. We do all the extraction, all the dehumidifying, all the water removal, as well as doing the thermal imaging of all the walls to see where there's moisture held up at, and we're able to open up the walls and get everything dried out. I'm gonna breeze through these. Fire and smoke remediation. We're able to clean up all the soot, do all the odor odor and soot removal.
One of the things people don't realize that we have the capacity to do is complete pack out of the property. So if you have, an apartment that's had a fire or flood inside there, we actually pack up all the furniture, itemize everything, box it all up. And we have large warehouses that we take it into the warehouse, and we can do complete storage during the restoration process of the units. Part of that also, one of the other services we have available is also the cleaning of those items also. So if there's smoke damage to the furniture or to the carpets, we're able to do all the cleaning and odor removal for that. As well as even the soot cleanup on knickknacks. We actually have an entire department that all they do is cleaning up of all the small items, the knickknacks, as well as all the electronics also. We don't get so much electronic services anymore for homeowners because electronics have become so inexpensive now, they just replace them. But for our commercial properties or public entity properties, we do still do a lot of electronics cleaning for them. Mold remediation, that's a big part of what we do. For my branch, I take care of the Hayward branch. So I take care of San Francisco, the Peninsula, as well as Berkeley, Oakland, Alameda, all the areas near water. So there's high humidity areas. So we do a lot of mold remediation. Anything above 65% humidity, there's going to be mold. And so a lot of what we'll do is we'll get inside there. We do all the dehumidifying, all the remediation of the water or mitigation of the water, and all the dry out, and then all the cleanup of the mold. That means we can get inside to the vents, do all the vent clean out, all the ductwork clean out, carpets, walls, everything. And of course, we're fully licensed for all of these. And I'll get to our licenses. Environmental remediation. So again, asbestos, lead abatement, debris removal, which would be, we start getting into animal debris. Unfortunately, San Francisco, human debris. We do a lot of cleanup of horribly nasty things that people don't like to talk about, but need to be cleaned up. Crime scene cleanup, trauma cleanups. Things like that. All of our we're fully certified across the board: DOSH, CDPH, ABRA, all the water certifications, and of course, not only are they available here, but you can go onto our website also. That shows all of our certifications and licenses. Also, all of our branches. We have branches everywhere. Our corporate office is here in Hayward. And then, of course, we have branches all through NorCal, SoCal, Washington, Denver, Texas, and Arizona. That's it for that presentation. I tried to keep it quick. But really, let me switch screens here for myself so I can see everybody. There we go. Again, we work with multifamily commercial properties, public entity properties, and we do everything from the beginning to the end of services. So HOAs and commercial properties, we can also help with the construction, from demolition through construction, remediation. We work with everybody.
It's impressive to hear all the stuff that you guys do and deal with. Is
the thing is
things that you want to have a part of your company, just like right there on your refrigerator, right? Just in case.
Yeah. And I have quick cards exactly just for that. I'm trying not to go too in depth. It's because there's so much information I can put out there. And there's so much available information for everybody. Really, the best thing is, if people are curious about what we do, or they think that they need our services, is to just give me a call and set up time, because these presentations that we do here online are great. They're awesome, and they're good intros into what we all do. So I would say for all of us across the board, if you're interested or curious about what our services are, is to give us a call.
Yeah.
And we'll set up a time when we can come out there and talk to you about what we do. But again, I work with everybody here. And, Mark, we do a lot of work with Reliant Construction. Our biggest goal at RMC is to make sure that homeowners or tenants are able to get back into their homes as quickly and efficiently and safely as possible. A lot of things that go on, especially on large losses, oftentimes people, they're required to have multiple bids, which is fantastic. I think that there should always be multiple bids on large jobs. But I want people to be aware that when those things happen is to make sure that you're comparing the bids and making sure that the bids are comparable, or actually comparable, that they're apple-to-apple proposals that are being sent to you. Often what will happen is, when we prepare our proposals, we look at them as worst-case scenarios. So we always try to make our proposals as comprehensive as absolutely possible, which can make those proposals look a little scary sometimes. When other bids come in and they're coming in at a lower cost. Okay, well, why is that? And so I always recommend that when you start comparing those proposals, is to bring us in and talk to us. Why is your bid more expensive, less expensive, in the middle, wherever it is? Why is it set up that way that is? So that we can walk you through and walk your insurance or your property manager or the residents through the proposal and see exactly what we are offering to you. What questions do you guys have?
Well, I don't have a question, Brian, but I also want to just sort of bring up, if you can, just briefly or however, one of the reasons. What I'm about to say is, then you can kind of discuss a little bit. Is one of the reasons why Reliant likes to work with somebody like a vendor like yourself is your team is amazing. All the folks that are involved in it. So if you can kind of sort of talk a little bit about your dispatch, your actual team folks that go out there and your reporting, because it's really seamless. So that's also helps us, like Reliant, if we're managing something with you folks, sure. Not only because you're thorough and what you bring to the table, but also because of what I just sort of briefly outlined. And that'd be great. I think it'd be good information for folks that are viewing.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And I think, one of the great things about RMC is that we are built around teams, right? And so the way that the process normally works is someone like Mark or a property manager or a homeowner will give us a call. They'll either call me directly, they'll call our 800 number, or if they have a relationship with one of our project managers, they'll call the project manager directly. And we will immediately start scheduling. So that is, okay, we'll talk to you about, okay, what is the job? So what's the issue? How big of a job is it, right? Or how much damage do you see inside there? And we immediately start scheduling our vehicles, because we do have specialty vehicles to come out to the site. So if it's a water damage or fire damage or a biohazard damage, we have special trucks for those. Everything is very data driven. So, and let me back up a little bit. There's, one of our big things is communication. How everything is communicated between our teams, through the property managers, the project managers, and insurance. There's always some kind of communication going on. When our teams show up on site, they're immediately, again, asking questions and taking pictures of everything that's going on, which gets sent back to whoever initiated the service call. So there's always documentation of what's going on in the project.
Yeah.
We, when the project managers get out on site, again, it's It's going back. Sorry, I'm losing track of myself here. I'm getting ahead of myself.
Brian, I wanted to say one
okay.
thing. I wanted to say that we talked, you and I, the other day, how I had a fire in our office, and we had an incident there, and we had a fire, and it was just impressive how just this reconstruction companies can come and they know just the entire process, and they help you through that whole process. They know the A through C, things that you don't realize, things that you don't get to see, or you don't realize that it's needed. These companies just know exactly what to do, and the whole process. So I never knew before that what companies like yours do, and realize, wow, like they're impressive in the way that they respond to the emergency, and it's impressive how fast and how quickly they take care of all the processes and the communication, and yeah, I mean, when we had the fire, we had the sprinklers turned on, so we got flooded on the warehouse, and there was so much stuff that they came in and just took care of it right away. It's
I think there's two different things to what you're saying there. Part of it is that everybody in the company is trained and has ongoing training on everything. Even I'm trained on water remediation. So across the board, everybody is going through ongoing training: asbestos, water, smoke, remediation, everything across the board. So that's a good thing, and that should be, no matter who the emergency or the disaster recovery company is. You should always be looking at the certifications. What certifications, and how are they keeping up to date on their certifications and licenses, right? So that's an ongoing thing. You're also talking about the emergency response. We have roaming trucks that are always in motion in their territories, and if they hear that there's been a fire or flood, it is their job to get out to those sites as quickly as possible and offer the services, right? Because again, the idea is to make sure that whether it's a homeowner, an apartment renter, or apartment tenant, commercial property, public entity, the idea is always to help them out as quickly and efficiently as absolutely possible, right? So we try. So like when you had the fire, the sprinkler incident at your place, we would hear that. Our truck would show up on site right off the bat and say, how can we help you out? Right. We understand that there's a flood out here. I have everything in my truck right now. I can get inside the unit right now and start the remediation. And because the sooner that those processes are started, the less long-term damage is going to be. Yeah. Especially for water, right? Mm-hmm. If we get inside there and get the water remediation started immediately, that means there's going to be less damage throughout the property, right? The longer water sits, the more opportunity it has to transpire throughout the entire building, right? Or it's going to get underneath your tile or into your walls or into the insulation. So the sooner that we can get started on that process, the easier it is for tenants to get back into their units as quickly as possible. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that we have to do the entire job. If they have a preferred vendor, the preferred vendor can come in afterwards and finish up the job. But the idea is to, again, get that process started as quickly and efficiently as possible. Mm-hmm. Mold, again, anything over 64% humidity, you're going to have mold happening, and it happens quick. So the sooner we can get that humidity dropped down in the unit, the better it is for everybody across the board. There's going to be less demolition, less tearing down walls, less pulling up carpet, less, right, across the board. So it ends up, if you can get an emergency service in there and the process started, it's going to end up being more cost effective for the unit also, because there's going to be less long-term damage.
Yeah, I have to say, Brian, real quick, that I had the pleasure of working with a few of your teams and project managers. And aside from all the training they have, the experience, I think the personality, it goes a long way, right? Communication, good people, and they're pretty understanding of what's going on and how it affects the unit owners.
Yeah.
Professional, clean work, a lot of documentation. So haven't had any issues with the whole experience with your company.
Thank you very much. We appreciate that. And that brings up another good point. It takes a lot of compassion to do what we do. When these things happen, especially for a homeowner or an apartment tenant, they're being displaced from their home. And that's traumatic, right? So our crews need to be very aware of what our clients are going through. And so again, that goes into that communication aspect, right? Of being able to speak to them and ease their worries as much as possible. And again, get the process started so that they can get back into their homes as quickly as possible. So that's a good point. Our project managers are amazing. I've been to some of these jobs, and some of these really, horrible jobs. And the way that they are able to speak to the people that are involved in this is just amazing. How they can calm down a situation. We work a lot with, we have to be very conscious of the fire departments and the police officers on sites also, right? So they have to know how to communicate with those people also, and they're amazing at this stuff. I'm in marketing, so I have a little bit different aspect on how I approach people. These project managers, these crew leaders, are so level-headed. It's amazing what they're able to do. And I love my teams.
Yeah, and going back to your comment about bidding process, a lot of times that's what makes the difference, right? The type of service you get.
Mm-hmm.
And take that, you need that management level, right, to provide good service. And a lot of times people don't see that. They look at the bottom line, and that's it. And then it becomes a headache sometimes, during projects. So
yeah, we some of this we deal with some very unfortunate incidents, and again, these teams are amazing across the board. All of our teams are just fantastic. But that's what we do.
Oh, great, Brian, that's awesome. Thank you. Does anybody have any questions for Brian or anything more? Daisy?
I was just going to say, you can say one of your stories. One of your stories.
Which one would you like?
The craziest one. The craziest one.
The craziest one? Oh boy. There's a lot of them. I won't get into
hearing about the hoarding.
So we've had a couple hoarding ones. Most recently, we had a cat hoarder, which was disturbing. Older person in an apartment complex, had a number of cats inside there. We got a call from the property management company after this tenant had been evacuated out of the unit. We went inside the unit, and you had to wear a hazmat suit into this property. It was so bad. The level of ammonia and matter that was inside this property was it was piled up pretty good. So it ended up being actually a complete gut out, because when especially with cats, they spray everything. It gets into the flooring, it gets into the walls, and then the ammonia smell just saturates the ceiling, everything. So we ended up having to go inside there, and we did like I said, pretty much a stick down to the sticks, complete gut out, floorboards, walls, all the insulation. Go inside there and decontaminate everything. Ozone generators to remove the smell. That was a fun job there, but and that's not even that's not even the worst. That's not even worse. And, we do things like, but we also get called in for jobs like apartment complexes in areas that have issues, and decontamination and cleanup of human matter out there, pressure washing, decontamination cleanup. One of the things that we also do is, of course, is COVID cleanups. That's something we do also. That's an available service. After forensic things happen, we do the biohazard cleanup after those, which can be. Luckily I have not been part of one of those, although we did get a call for a biohazard cleanup after a body not too long ago. So we have those specialty services also available.
You got an amazing job.
Yeah. So great. Thanks, Brian. And I know you have a bunch of stories, so pretty hairy stuff, but doing amazing work. So thank you. Thanks to everybody. We're going to be wrapping up here now. We want to thank you for joining us today. If you want to join us again, we'll be back here in 2 weeks. We'll get out another flyer here and a little bit about our topic in the next week or so. You can also go to our LinkedIn page where you can actually find us on there, as well as a link to our expos. So you can click on that and share that with your friends, colleagues, so folks can review this and see the taped version of this from our YouTube channel. And again, I want to thank everybody that's on our team. Special thanks to Brian for presenting, Victor for joining me today to talk about Reliant.
Thank you, guys.
We'll see everybody in a couple weeks.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you, Mark.
Have a great weekend, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Victor.
All right.
Bye, guys.